All right, hi. Since the last video, you can see I got a haircut. You're seeing me go through all kinds of things in life. This course has taken a little while to record and make, so you see me in a lot of phases. Anyway, we are moving on to the next lesson, and this one is about actually starting to visualize the data. So we've gone over getting the data, we've put it on the map as shapes, we've done this pop-up that tells you how many, blah, 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 are in each state, da, 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 in a fairly simple way by checking the names. And now we're going to do the more advanced part, which is actually coloring the shapes. So this is definitely going to have some advanced stuff in it. It might be a little complicated. Try to go slow through it. In a way, Leaflet might have been easier for this in that we can individually color every polygon. We create this L.polygon, we add everyone to the map, and we tell it what color to be. In MapLibra, we're going to have to do this kind of formula thing where we have to start learning about something we call MapLibra or Mapbox expressions, which are pretty complicated. So we don't want to learn how to do that. Like, we don't want to learn all about expressions and everything, but we're going to just kind of copy paste one in. I'm going to go over briefly how it works, and hopefully we're sort of understanding roughly what's going on. Okay, so now what we're doing here is, let's go look at the code. I've changed things a little bit. So in the last one, I talked about how in here, we just fetched these and we stored one of them, and the other one we just did. They run at the same time, but they don't come back in any particular order. It sends out all these calls somewhere, and then they come back whenever they come back. Now, for what we're going to do, we have to put the data together in a form, in a certain way. So you'll see what I mean here. So the first thing I do is I do what we call nesting these calls. This isn't like the prettiest way to do this. As you get more advanced, you definitely won't do like a fetch call and then inside a fetch call, another fetch call. But it serves our purposes right now just to go over this and understand what's happening. So the idea here is that we fetch the McDonald's response first, which is all the information about how many are in every state. And then when that's done, we get the US state data. And the reason for that is that we want to actually, when we add the US states to the map, we want in the properties for them to already have how many McDonald's are in each state. Right now, in the way we've done it before, the states just get added to the map, the McDonald's data just gets stored, and then when we click, we do that like matching. But we want it in this case of what we're going to do, where we're going to color them, we want to match them beforehand, because we need, when we add the shape to the map, we need to be able to tell it what color it is. So we have to already know how many McDonald's are in each state when we add the shape to the map. So we can say, oh, you should be green, you should be red. If we don't know that already, then we have to do it when it comes back or on some other event. So in this case, we put these calls one after another like this so that we can do that association. So that's what we do first. It's a little bit wacky. And you can see here that I actually, in this one, I just call, I think here, I just call it response, and then response, response, response. And they don't override each other because the variables are inside this function. But I can't just call them all response here, because they'll overwrite each other or something weird might happen. So I call one of them McDonald's response and the other one state response. Okay, so that all has to do with like basic JavaScript scoping type stuff. It's probably a little weird to get used to, but you can name this whatever you want, just so that they don't overwrite each other, okay? Now, I do the same thing that I did basically when we did the click. Like, I go over the McDonald's information, I check if the state matches another state, and then I set the number of McDonald's. But in this case, I'm doing it for every state at once. So I loop over all the states, which are in this dot features. And then for every state, I do the same thing we did here. I check to see, I then loop over all the McDonald's and check to see if the McDonald's dot state equals this state dot properties dot name. Hopefully, again, whenever I'm trying to talk out code, I feel like it's a little crazy because there's all these terms, but hopefully this is making sense. I'm just looping over all the features in the GeoJSON, every polygon. Each of them has a property called name, and I'm checking that against all of the McDonald's information. Each of them has a property called state, or a property called state. And we check them. If they match, then I make a new variable in the GeoJSON, in the polygon, called the number of McDonald's. I just go state.properties.number of McDonald's, which didn't exist before. I just create it right there, and I put in the number of McDonald's. So what that means is that after we do that, if we look at the console log, I'm logging that out right here. I log out the state response after I've modified it. And let's look at that again. Here are all the features, and if we open one up, we see Arizona, density, which was on the original thing, and then there's number of McDonald's. Because I've done that little bit of looping, there's number of McDonald's, number of McDonald's. So it's there, every one of them, it matches, and it gets there. Okay, so now it's all in the GeoJSON, right? That is now the GeoJSON that we're going to add to the map, and it already has the number of McDonald's in the data of the GeoJSON now. So we want that so that we can tell now when we're going to add the layer of the fills, we're going to be able to do this little thing where we tell it what to color it. Okay. So, okay, we add the source as usual. It's a GeoJSON. We do that little adding thing. Now we have this whole thing called expressions. We're not going to get too crazy into it, but there's a lot of types of expressions. What expressions are in Mapbox is they're like complicated ways to style the data that you're adding individually. So we added all these features as one layer. All these polygons are like one Mapbox layer, and we could tell them fill color black, fill color red. What if we want each of the polygons to have a different color? Well, then we have to use this thing expression, okay? And it's kind of complicated. Ultimately, it's one of those things that you're going to have to kind of find by Googling. If you were to look up, how do I have polygons have different colors? You're going to find people talking about expressions. Now, in this case, this person's trying to make an expression. They're having trouble with it. And this is an answer that lays it out. Let's just look at this. Okay, so this person's trying to have basically, based on some information in their GeoJSON, they want to color the polygons differently. So, okay, there's this thing interpolate linear. We're not going to worry about that. Then there's this thing number get, and then there's some property here, and then there's a bunch of colors. 1, this color, 2, this color, 3, this color. Okay, so if we look at ours, what we're going to do is do this interpolate linear. We're going to get the number of McDonald's, and then if it's 1, we're going to make it white, and if it's 1,000, we're going to make it red. Okay, so obviously between white and red, there's all kinds of colors. Like it could be all kinds of crazy stuff. So what we're doing then is we're telling it to interpolate between these colors, like between white and red. And I looked, and like our maximum number of McDonald's, I think is like I think we looked at it last time. California had like 1,000 something. Yeah, 1165, right? And then white would be 0. 1, right, would be 1. So anywhere in between, Mapbox is going to automatically say, oh, you have 600. Well, it's 60% white and 40% red, whatever color that is, right? And it's going to interpolate between them, okay? And this second part of the expression is just telling it to look at the property that we added called number of McDonald's. This is too complicated to go over right now. We're going to touch a little bit more on expressions in the more advanced topics, but the basic idea here is I'm telling it the minimum, I'm telling it a maximum, I'm telling it to check that number of McDonald's, and then pick the color in between, okay? Now, it's a bit wacky. A couple of them are like green, which is weird. Like, why are they green? I think that's because, because there's like a little error going on here, right? So like something is wrong here. They shouldn't be like green like this, okay? So they're probably green because the green is like the underlying color of this map. Like if we were to let's just not add the layer and reload this, it's a kind of green, okay? So something is happening where like it's not getting colored properly, like it's getting colored as maybe black, probably as black, but with a fill opacity of 0.5. That's probably what's happening. So something's wrong with these. And you can click on this and see, okay, it has 1165, and this one has undefined. So something is wrong here. So these two aren't appearing correctly. So there's some kind of issue going on. Beyond that, everything else here is pretty much the same. We do the same kind of thing, although this time we no longer do this comparing in the click because we've already got that number of McDonald's on the polygon that we added when we did this whole thing. So we can just get the name and the number of McDonald's and put it directly into the pop-up. So we have the same thing happening, but it's a little simplified now here because we already did all that comparing up above. Okay, so now that we know this is generally coloring, right? Generally between white and red, bearing in mind it has this kind of green background. So let's just try removing the fill opacity of 0.5 and just see them actually from white to red. Okay, so there it is, like from white to red, and we can see those ones are black. So there's some kind of default. So from white to actually red, we can see Texas has the most, 834, and something like Alaska has very little, right? So the data visualization is fundamentally working. So in the next one, we're going to go over like this errors with the data and how do we fix it? How do we find the problem? So we'll see you in the next one.